Hey everybody, it's Lebo with Lebo's Pinball here again with another pinball review, and this time I'm going to go over the Data East Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The thought with this game of why I'm doing this video, it's not that this is a recent refurbished job that I've done. It's really nothing special to really bring it up now, other than I've got a friend that has one. He's getting ready to do a project on it, and I've worked on a few of these now. Yeah, I guess it's three. But the real reason why I want to do this video is that I haven't done one on this one yet. This is game number one for me. This is the one that started everything that I've been doing for all my videos and all the pinball repair. It all started with this, and I just said, you know what, I have not done a video on it, and I just want to do it. And share a little bit of the history of how I even got into this and how this game brought that all about. So first off, let me just start out with just let you know this game came to my wife and I several years ago, absolutely free. That's right, this game came to us from my wife's aunt. She used to have a few pinball machines back before we were even dating. And from what I understand, and this one hung around. She had gotten rid of other things over the years. Never had any kids, but they always had a lot of family over to play all different kinds of cool things over at their house, and pinball was one of them. And this was a game that hung around that basically really wasn't working very well at all, but just was down in their basement. They were clearing things out, and they said, "Hey, would you like to have this game?" And quite honestly, several years ago, when the opportunity came to us, I wasn't into pinball. I wasn't playing it. I didn't know a thing about it. Didn't know about working on them. Certainly didn't play them, and just didn't really have much interest. I didn't get it. It's just bouncing a ball around, right? Well, turns out it is more than that. But we got this game, and I didn't have a good place for it. So it went over in storage at a friend's house. They had a basement. And some kids that were about my son's age, again, many years ago. And, it'd turn on, you'd play a little bit, but a lot of things were broken, like the DMD didn't work, and there was broken rubbers, some switches that were just dead. It's been quite a while now that I'm starting to forget everything that was wrong with it. But let's just say it was halfway working. Well, a couple of years went by after that, and their situation changed, and they needed to clear out their basement. At that point, that's when he gave me a call back. Says, "Hey, remember that game that we brought over to my house? Do you want to take it back now?" I was like, "Yeah." And I still didn't have a really good place to keep it. Here I'm in my basement now, and it's not even finished off. You see all the junk and clutter that's around here. And my big idea is to have more of a game room down here over time. But I didn't have a good place for it at the time. But I have a good friend, also known as the Pin Doc, for those that are on Pin side and have seen the rotisseries that you see me do the work on it. That's his product. I work with him just during my normal day job, and I went to him to say, "Hey, I've got this pinball machine. Would you be interested in looking at it? Maybe kind of fixing some things. I'd be willing to pay for some parts, and just kind of see where it goes." And of course, when you bring a statement like that to somebody who's really into pinball and into working on them, their response is going to be, "Yes, bring it to me." And that's exactly what he did. So that's where it happened. So I brought the game to him and went over to his shop, and it was there for I don't know, 2 or 3 months of, if I remember right, 2 or 3 months of just going through it. And he did a tremendous amount of work of getting it all functional. So a lot of the stuff that's in this game of just getting it up and running is totally him. He did a lot of good things to really diagnose some issues, fix a lot of things. But I learned a lot actually, just going through and seeing what he was doing. And then along the way, some of the things I started kind of playing in, like some of the lights that we added in. He helped do a lot of the bulbs and everything, and helped me kind of think it all through. And when I brought it home, that's when I started to really learn to play it. And oh my gosh, there's actually a point here. There's rule sets, and there's control with the flippers, and this is a whole new thing. And from there, I started taking a little bit more. I started doing a few more things to the game and got certainly more interested in it. And it led into me acquiring several other games and working on a lot more, and just learning more and more every day, honestly, as I go through this. There's just more. It's just, this is what started it all. So what I want to do, that's my backstory on this. What I want to do is, just as a review for this game, show you what I specifically did, or what the Pin Doc and I did to get the game to where it is now, and just kind of give an overview, because there's some things, like a lot of games that are customized, that maybe elements that you really like to see, and it might be something you want to do to your game, or it might be something that you're like, okay, I don't think that's what I want. It's a little over the top, or it may not be just my preference. It might be okay, but I want to do something different. But you want to see an example of how it was done. This is an example, so I'm going to take you through some of the specifics on this, and hopefully that's helpful. So hang tight, here we go. All right, so starting at the very top. So this game has this topper, that's, you know, the original topper, but one little thing that was added to it, there was a strip of lights that was added. That was something that I did. It was after the initial work that was done, and just something I thought that'd be kind of neat to add. So what I did is, there is I think it's a 12-inch long strip, something like that, around 12 inches long, just a green LEDs, and they are actually just, they're not on any kind of a bracket or anything. It's just a strip that's just straight down on the wood, and it's just shining upward towards this plastic. If I were to do it again, I probably would make like just a simple little bracket, just to point the LEDs more this way, and maybe get some frosted ones instead of just clear, and that would help kind of illuminate the whole thing. You kind of got a little bit of a dead spot here, but anyways, it looks all right. The other thing you might want to do is get like maybe a white spotlight, and make this area a little more white, and add the green to the other spots. But that is what exists there. This right here, a lot of games traditionally have a lock. Being that it's at home, I don't want to have to fumble with a key to get in here. So a lot of times I switch these over to a keyless latch or lock, just to keep, that's just for holding the back glass in, but nothing real special there. So now let's actually move down towards the actual back glass. We'll take a look at that and really see what's inside of it. So as you can see, this one's got some color to it. It's not just the white lights behind it, white LEDs that are illuminating everything and adding some color. It's a matter of just kind of going through, and it's a preference thing, but it's an art thing. You're trying to find out what colors to put behind certain spots in the back glass that look right, and really kind of make the existing artwork as it's intended to really look out, or to make it look. You want to put certain colored bulbs behind that to really kind of make certain things pop a little bit more. So let me go ahead and remove this glass, and then we'll take a look to see what kind of LEDs that I have behind there, and the colors that are there. So what you're seeing is kind of a mixture of different things. You've got most of the bulbs that are here are a frosted bulb, and there are some that are clear lens, but just kind of going through it all, all these are frosted green bulbs. This one and this one are actually, and by the way, all these bulbs are from Pinball, and most of them are their 2 SMD bulbs. But these 2 bulbs, I believe, were their yellow. Actually, that one looks maybe a little bit more of their amber. The yellow ones have traditionally never really been very bright, been kind of disappointing. They came out with a new yellow one that I hope to try here really soon. I might actually swap some of these out. But anyways, that's what those are. These are some warm whites. I believe this one actually, that one may be a warm white frosted as well. This looks like a cool white that was actually a split of little flex bulbs. And I think I did that just because of what was a sword artwork that kind of comes through here. Was trying to make that a little more visible. These bulbs here, These are actually purple bulbs. I don't think it's the purple passion or whatever that they have. I think it's just their regular purple. Here's another cool white. Some of these are ones that are not real fancy, but they're ones that I had on hand. These are some warm whites here. These are clear lens green bulbs. Frosted red, another frosted green, another cool white. And up here, I'll show you here in a minute, but this is actually not, that's not original. There's an extra socket that I added. It was a bayonet socket with the bracket on the side that I flattened out, and I just tied the wires to that socket into one of the existing sockets here, and then put in a bulb, a dual flex or bendy, whatever, bulb here with some more red. And that was, again, when you put the back box, I'm sorry, put the back glass, I cannot talk. You put that back on, and you'll see that the Teenage Mutant Ninja logo, it's at the top. There was kind of a dark spot before, and that was intended just to light that up. All right, so now let's actually go inside the back box. Oh wait, I probably should have mentioned this. So that was all the lights there. Here's the DMD. This is an LED DMD, and unlike a lot of the DMDs, this one is, I think it's only 16 pels tall versus I think most of them are 32. So they kind of call this, what, a half DMD, or I think it's right. So I don't think there's very many games that did this. I know Data East did this one, and was it Checkpoint maybe that also came out right about the same time? I think it was just before this. They both ended up with this little half DMD, but this one is an amber LED version. Let's open up and see what we've got on the inside. So just kind of going through it all. When we dug into the game, again, I mentioned earlier that a lot was not working. There was a few transistors that had to be replaced that were locked on. Your typical thing where you've got batteries that if they've been left there, they'll corrode, and you want to get batteries off of the board. What we did at the time, and it's still here, is we took the original socket here, or the battery holder, and I think that is the original one. I don't think we replaced it. I think it was okay, but just to prevent getting battery acid damage on it, we relocated the battery holder as opposed to putting in NVRAM. I could do NVRAM. I haven't really looked into it for this game to see if that's something that I could do. It probably could, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it, kind of. So it's working right now. The batteries I've got in another holder that's up here at the top right where we chose to put it in there. And actually, the batteries I have in there right now are old alkaline batteries. I need to get them out of there and put in some lithium batteries. Is probably a smarter decision. But we have that there. I believe these capacitors on the power supply were all replaced. Some of the cables, some of these flat discrete cables that feed to the display and I guess some other areas. I don't recall where they're all feeding to. I do remember that those were replaced. Just as part of it was just trying to determine what was going on with some troubleshooting things that we were doing with the game. And the other thing is, this was the first game that I used the OCD LED boards. And I remember when we first put that on here, it's like, wow, I don't know if I want to spend the money. I think it was another $150 or something at the time. But what it does is it helps smooth out all the controlled LEDs, the harshness that they'll have with some of the blinking. It helps just kind of smooth that out, and it looks better overall. But we chose to mount that board there, and that's where that wiring is. And I guess that's really mainly all the main stuff to kind of point out here. The lights that were added up here at the top, the wire that goes to that actually comes down to this board here at the bottom, and there's a connector you can't see very well probably from that angle, but it's just wired straight in, just kind of pinched into that connector. We didn't splice any wires or anything. I think if I were doing this nowadays, I'd probably actually splice a wire and attach it, do a little better connection. But we found just a way to put it there in between the pins and the connector, so it's actually reversible. If I wanted to unplug that, those wires would come out. So that was an effective way, and to do it, and it's held up, it's not come loose. So let's move down to the bottom. Okay, so in no particular order, I'm just going to kind of go over things as I see them. I wanted to mention here what I did. But just kind of going from the back and moving forward, that's probably an easier way for me to just sort of kind of think through everything. So over here to the right, this is probably a really common area that on these Turtles games that get some damage, and mine is included. It's basically just about a 180-degree turnaround where you shoot the ball and it bangs itself right into the plastic, and it tends to kind of punch a hole in that plastic. It gets brittle and cracks over time, and it's just not good. You can get a new ramp now, but what I have on mine is basically just a metal ball guide that was made really just to kind of patch over the cracked area, and honestly, it's done really well. I had considered replacing the ramps, and in fact, actually, I do have one that I probably will end up selling. It was an early run from someone in Australia that had some made, and it's been working fine. I probably just won't ever really mess with it. But that was done to address that issue. You'll notice that there's some extra light back here. The reason for that is I actually have a light socket. It was a little bit of work to go put it in, but you can see part of the reflection here, but it's up here a little bit higher. And that happens to be one of the OpMax purple bulbs. It's not super bright right now because I got a little bit of a problem I need to go address later. One of the wires that feeds a lot of the GI lights, it's got a little bit of resistance at the connector, and sometimes the lights will dim down a little bit. You may not notice it that much in the video, but it's not as bright as it usually is, in fact. So speaking of lights, you'll see the green lights that are in the very back behind the pop bumpers. The rubber bands that are back there, all the rubbers that I did on this game, even though I like to use a lot of the Titan silicone bands, this game, I guess because it was so early, maybe we didn't even know about Titan, or they didn't have their product out yet. This is using Marco's super bands, the polyurethane bands. They're poly bands, like I like to call them. I had to do something a little special back here. They didn't have a band that I remember that was long enough to span from that side all the way over here and back. And instead, we ended up with two bands, and I think we added, I don't remember if I think it was this left post. I think that's a new post that we added in. And it works. So now that we've got two bands there, I've not had any problems with it not being an issue, but that's loaded in there and working out fine. Moving over here to the left side a little bit, you're seeing that things are kind of lit up back here. And again, I'm using another one of those OpMax purple bulbs, and it's tucked inside of this spotlight. Let's see if I can kind of scroll down here a little bit. You can see it a little bit better. There we go. So that was added just to kind of illuminate that whole area. These inserts that are all through here, if I remember right, for whatever reason, this last one, I believe it was this one, it never had a socket, never had a ball socket. So that was something that I added. I've got a bulb that's behind that stand-up target. I wanted to say that maybe that wasn't there. Maybe it was there. I can't recall. The lights that are inside of this area back here, that little explosion, I think I put in maybe an additional socket to make it flash a little brighter. Again, I don't recall exactly. One thing I haven't even mentioned yet, but these blades on the side. So what's with the blades? These are not Turtles blades. These are blades that I thought that looked really good for this game, just based on the kind of the theme and the color. But this is intended to go to Ghostbusters. So it's working fine on this. The colors I think look right. I like how they look. The lights that are here, these are all clear lens. Again, two SMD bulbs. The green, a couple reds, and that's a yellow. I think it looks good. Even though I mentioned the yellows are not all that bright, it looks perfect to me for here. It's not overly bright. Okay, just kind of moving along. This area down here, This metal bracket is one that I made because mine was missing, and at the time I didn't know where I could find one. So I basically cut one out of cardboard just as a pattern, then transfer it over to a piece of metal and just cut it out. But the reason why that's there is a lot of times if you don't have that, when the ball hits these stand-up targets, the ball will kind of airborne, kind of jumps up and does some stuff that ain't real good. So that's why I had that made. Let's just see what else we got worth mentioning. So kind of taking a step back, you know, we've got a lot of red bulbs down here. They're frosted bulbs, red on the side. And one of the big things that I want to point out, you'll notice here this middle playfield just is really glowing, and it's really kind of coming across even stronger in the video. But what you're seeing is, again, just like those spotlight bulbs that I had in the back, those purple Op Max bulbs that come from Comet, did the same thing here. They're in a couple sockets, and we just sort of discovered shining that light. It's almost like an ultraviolet bulb, to where it's causing this whole playfield area to really light up a lot more. And I really like how it looks. So anyways, we got that. These are just normal underneath the slings, just your normal warm white bulbs. One other thing, if I come in here real close, if you look at all the plastics, you'll notice that there's, if you look real close, you'll see there's an additional clear plastic. So what we have going on there is, it's just took the original took the plastics and traced them over to some, I think this is acrylic, and made them just a little oversized to try to protect these plastics. All these plastics are actually new. I did get a new plastics kit for this game, but I wanted to preserve them to keep them from cracking. So that's what those are. Getting down in the trough, you got the red light that's lit up here. And let's see what else we got. Of course, we got instruction cards. I guess that's some of the major things. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but that kind of gives you an overview of, you know, what all I have on here. Oh, I guess I should mention all the inserts. I try to color match them. So instead of just putting whites everywhere, which is fine, and I think that's how I had it even originally. If you go the extra mile and you start just color matching them, I just think it looks a lot better. You put clear lens. Don't fool with the frosted. I mean, it's okay, but it's just no point. It's just going to take some of the brilliance out of it. But in these inserts, put blue bulbs there. Those actually may have been warm white still because they're orange. This is going to be reds. I'm pretty sure I put just regular purples in there. They could have been the Purple Passion, I think. I think these are just both warm whites. That's a yellow lens, or I'm sorry, yellow insert, so that's why it looks that way. And they're kind of the same way with all these. I think these are warm whites, maybe another warm white, and that's probably a yellow and a couple ambers is probably what I've got down here at the bottom. Lit up the buttons. The green buttons, if you light them up, that's a clear button. It's not a green button; it's an actual clear one. But with using the flex bulbs, the green, you'll have to see it on the inside here. It shines in through really well. The greens seem to really be bright compared to some of the other colors. The red's okay, but the green really looks nice through there. Okay, well, I'm going to pause here for a second and flip over to inside the cabinet, and we'll look at a couple other things. Okay, so looking at the bottom side of the playfield, one thing I wanted to mention here, that it's a modification that it's documented in other places on the internet. I think I even did a video directly on this once before. But the auto kicker, this whole mechanism right here, the original design doesn't do the best job with really kicking the ball up and around that upper right part of that plastic, that turnaround. It gets kind of lazy and it just doesn't work real good. It was really sort of a swing and a miss in the design. Well, Stern came out with a much better design. Uses, I can't see it real well from here, but think of it kind of like two fingers that hit the ball. And what a lot of folks have learned to do is to retrofit their design back onto this early Date East design. and that's what I've got here. So what that required was moving this bracket in a little different location. Kind of ignore this nut. This is when we were experimenting around with trying to fix some things, and just sort of ignore that. But anyways, this bracket is repositioning the original coil, but with this different plunger and the arm and the whole pivot. You have to cut a little bit of the wood. It's not bad. Just takes a little bit of finesse to get it in there. It's a little tight around the wires and everything here for this other coil, but that thing has worked out really well. I've not had issues with it. I definitely would. That's really a must. It's for any of these Turtles games. It was a little pricey. I think that this bracket may have been, I want to say it's $50 or $60 for the whole deal, but it's worth doing. Just your standard flipper rebuild. There are some places where, now looking underneath here, I've been able to tell where I've added in some different sockets, and I can't tell you just by looking on the top which insert it is, but looking here at the bottom, I know I can tell just by looking. I think, this one right here, that may be a different one. I'm not for sure. This is definitely, so these wires here, so this is an additional socket that I added in just to kind of light up the plastic on the left side a little bit more. I think I mentioned earlier, one of these inserts here, the whole row of red, that one never existed, so that was added. This one right here, it was an empty spot, added a socket and a bulb in there. Trying to remember if I did anything down here. I don't think that I did. Let's see. Oh yeah, this is a cool thing. Another thing that I would really suggest, it's another must do. So I guess you call it the sewer, or the subway, this metal bracket where when you shoot the ball up in the upper right and it drops down inside and it comes up here. If you have this green light, you take a socket like I did here, it's just a wedge socket, something flat, and you take one of our flex bulbs, get it up real high so it's not going to block a bulb or anything, but by throwing that light down in there, it helps light up the back whenever when you're playing the game, when you're shooting the ball up in the upper right, you can see it a lot better. So you can see where you're shooting, and it's green, it looks cool. So you gotta do all of it. What else do I want to mention here? So we were talking about the lighting of the inserts and all. One thing I want to mention too is like these lights that are here in the middle. Not only do we have flashers that are certain colors, I've tried to also do just even some of the controlled lights, just do them with matching colors too. One thing to maybe kind of watch out for, they've got some bulbs that are non-ghosting and some that don't have that. Just if you're going to use the OCD LED boards, don't worry about getting non-ghosting. You're going to want to get your regular bulbs if you can, because if you don't, it sort of clips off the fade that it would normally be doing otherwise. I guess that's mainly it on the bottom of the Playfield. If we look down at the bottom of the cabinet, really pretty standard stuff, except the one thing that's kind of weird is like, hey, what's this extra little transformer doing? So I added some under cabinet lighting to this quite a while back. Let's see if I can get down underneath here and get a good look. There's a dog ball there. So there's a couple lights here, and if I were to do it again, I probably would put those lights a little closer to the edge of the cabinet to kind of protect it, and get the kind that have a whole like encapsulated cover around them instead of it just being exposed LEDs. But anyways, powering those lights, it was just some light kit I think I got on eBay. It's not anything that was pinball specific by any means. And so instead of actually driving those lights from the existing pinball circuit board somewhere, it came with its own transformer. So I've positioned that there, and I tied in the actual wiring, the powering of that transformer actually into the box here. So it's a clean way to where it's got its own you know, supply of power for the lights underneath. Again, I've done it on other games where I didn't have to go do anything elaborate like that, and just tied it into, you know, use a 12-volt light and tied it into another 12-volt source. But that's just about everything that I wanted to mention. Not a whole lot of work done to the cabinet. The cabinet was in pretty decent shape, actually really decent shape, and just did a cleaning job on it. The legs and rails were all the original, those black powder coating. So that's pretty much it. Green lights there in the door. That pretty much covers it. I might do a real quick demo of playing the game and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, now that we've gone over everything about the game and all the stuff that I did to it, let's go ahead and do a real quick demo of actually playing it. Alright, here we go. Look for the skill shot up here on the ramps. I missed it. But I did get it back there in the sewer. Got around the ramp once. Trying to go around the ramp. Every time I go around the ramp, it spells another letter of turtles. So I've got a T right now. So as I spell it, then that will give me multi-ball. But let's also try to hit all those stand-up targets, all the different colored ones, the ones over here, the ones in the bag, over there. As I do that, I think that helps. Whoops. Is that for multi-ball too? I cannot remember. I think I would know by now. Yeah, sewer. Here we go. Around again. Oh, did not take a bounce like I expected. Alright, let's give it another go. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Now, I don't think I hit any switches. That's right. So, the ball save on this game, if you shoot it and you don't manage to score anything, you drain it, it will give you the ball back. So that's kind of a rare situation. Alright, that was a skill shot. The skill shot is to try to hit a ramp before hitting anything else. Okay, there's my millions mode. Oh, just got a million. We hit the other ramp. Let's see if I can hit the other ramp. Oh, all right. So now I'm trying for 10 million. I gotta hit it in the sewer. I've only got 2 seconds left. It's not gonna happen, folks. Oh. But that's how you can get a ton of points, and it's hard to do. When you get in that, I said multi-ball mode, or then that's not true. It wasn't multi-ball. When you spell out turtles, it goes into the millions mode. That's what I said. So then you hit both of those ramps, you get a million each time, and then if you shoot it into the sewer, you get 10 million, and that's a ton of points for this game. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and drain it. That's the that was my second ball. Next to last ball. Go ahead and power it off. But anyways, hope that helps. Hope you enjoyed it. Long video, a lot to go over. But I definitely wanted to do it for this game since it was game number 1 for me. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned and check out some other videos.